Thank you for watching today's video. Before we begin, we'd like to mention that we're constantly seeking new cases for our channels. For Criminally Listed, we focus on cold cases that have been eventually solved, while on Paranormally Listed, we explore stories related to paranormal phenomena. We are eager to hear about unexplained experiences involving ghosts, hauntings, mysterious creatures, extraterrestrials, UFOs, or unresolved mysteries. If you have a case or personal story to share, please visit our website and navigate to the Suggest a Case section. Recently, on our sister channel, we produced a video discussing psychics who have assisted in solving murders. We are curious about your opinion. Do you believe in their abilities? Share your thoughts in the comments. Speaking of psychics, there is an intriguing documentary series called Psychic Investigators on Magellan TV, our current sponsor. The series depicts real-life murder cases that investigators struggled to resolve until they consulted individuals claiming psychic powers. Whether you believe in such abilities or not, these stories are captivating and might challenge your perceptions. Psychic Investigators includes 45 episodes, offering plenty of compelling content. I personally appreciate Magellan TV for its excellent value, quality programming, and vast selection of documentaries covering genres like true crime, science, and history. With over 3,000 titles and 20 hours of new material added weekly, it's a hidden gem among streaming services. For viewers of our channel, Magellan TV offers a special deal: a 30-day free trial. To take advantage, simply visit their website and sign up. On December 18, 1984, a construction worker in Nakamixon Township, Pennsylvania, discovered a badly decomposed body concealed on a wooded property. The victim had been shot 4 times in the chest and once in the head, leading the medical examiner to estimate death had occurred up to 10 days earlier. The corpse was identified as 34-year-old Richard Wesley Wheeler, a man with a troubling criminal history. Wheeler had previously been convicted of marijuana dealing in California, escaped from prison, was recaptured, and subsequently sent to Danbury Federal Penitentiary in Connecticut. He was released in November of 1979, less than a year before his murder. Authority figures spent years investigating Wheeler's killing. In 1983, they learned from a witness that the murder had been ordered by a man named Leslie Schmidt. This suspect was 39 years old at the time and involved in methamphetamine trafficking. Schmidt and Wheeler had first crossed paths in late 1979 while Schmidt was on a temporary furlough from prison. During this encounter, Schmidt connected Wheeler with a property equipped with a camper and a makeshift meth lab, where Wheeler was paid $250,000. Schmidt instructed Wheeler to use that money to support his family during Schmidt's remaining prison term, and he also tasked him with managing the drug operation. Initially, Schmidt had financed the meth lab while still incarcerated. However, tensions later arose because Schmidt believed Wheeler was keeping more of the drug money for himself rather than supporting Schmidt's family as promised. Frustration prompted Schmidt to arrange Wheeler's murder, allegedly involving a man described as a German national, who's believed to have fired the fatal shot. Witnesses claimed Schmidt had met this German man while in prison. The police further identified this individual as Peter Eric Marchner, a man nicknamed the Captain. Marchner's background was notorious. He had a history of yacht thefts and maritime equipment thefts across Caribbean islands. In May 1974, He was jailed for stealing a sailboat in Martinique. After serving 2 years, he was supposed to be deported, but he obtained employment on a private yacht, eventually making his way to the Caribbean. In February 1977, he stole another yacht's worth $10,000 in boating gear and cash from a port in St. Lucia. About a month later, he committed another theft from a harbor in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. French authorities arrested Marchner in May of the same year, and he was later extradited to the United States to face charges related to his maritime thefts. In the summer of 1980, a man from the Virgin Islands confessed to crimes of grand larceny and interstate transportation of stolen goods, leading to his imprisonment in Danbury Federal Penitentiary. After serving his sentence, he was scheduled for deportation to Germany, but during the airport process, he managed to escape. Following his escape, he rendezvoused in Noxamixon Township with a man named Wheeler, becoming his bodyguard and driver. However, a new order from a man named Smith changed everything. He was instructed to eliminate Wheeler. The man carried out the order and shot Wheeler dead, after which the killer vanished, leaving authorities convinced they knew who was responsible, yet unable to produce conclusive proof. Adding to the unresolved puzzle was the question of Peter Marchner's fate. Speculation arose that Schmidt had him murdered to silence him after Wheeler's death, but what became of Marchner's body remained unknown. The case grew cold, garnished with unanswered questions for over 42 years, until 2023 when law enforcement revived their investigation. They realized that uncovering the identity of the triggerman, Peter Marchner, was crucial. In their pursuit, investigators discovered that 2 years after Wheeler's murder, Marchner had been arrested in New York on drug conspiracy charges. Although he used the alias Charles McLaren, his social security number and birth date did not match. Forensic comparison of fingerprints seized during McLaren's arrest in 1982 with those of Marchner confirmed they were the same individual. After being released from custody, Marchner relocated to New Jersey, married, had children, and launched a successful limousine business in New York City. He died in 2006, with his family unaware of his criminal past. Authorities sought to speak with Charles Smith, but he had passed away a year earlier, in April 2022 at age 80. His obituary listed 5 daughters, 1 stepdaughter, 24 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. With all persons involved in Wheeler's murdered deceased, detectives officially closed the case early in 2023. They informed Wheeler's family that Peter Marchner had indeed killed Wheeler under Charles Schmidt's orders, bringing some closure to a decades-old mystery. Meanwhile, in 40-year-old Kentucky, a tragic case had also gone unresolved. In June of 1976, 16-year-old Carol Sue Kleber, living with her mother and 2 older brothers in Fort Wright, vanished after a routine evening. Her father had died 6 years prior from a heart ailment. An avid music enthusiast, Carol had begun piano lessons at age 5 and later learned guitar and violin in high school. She was also involved in Girl Scouts and volunteered as a caretaker at a nearby nursing home. On that June night, Carol was riding her bike home when she was spotted entering a 2-tone car driven by a young man. After a few hours, her body was discovered in a roadside ditch, nude from the waist down. She had been struck 7 times in the head with what appeared to be a tire iron and strangled with her own chain necklace, with evidence of sexual assault. Police initially believed she was attacked elsewhere and dumped there, but no suspects were identified. They released a sketch of the young man with the distinctive vehicle, but no progress was made, and the case eventually went cold. Over the years, one detective, obsessed with solving the case, pursued leads relentlessly. His efforts led him to identify 2 suspects, but he passed away in September of 2017, leaving the case unsolved and the mystery intact. In that same year, the Boone County Sheriff's Office established a cold case unit to revisit unresolved crimes. 2 detectives soon began investigating Carol's murder, collecting a DNA sample from the killer to develop a profile. They obtained DNA evidence from the 2 main suspects, but the results excluded both of them. By September of 2022, the profile was sent to Earthform Incorporated, a genetics laboratory in Woodland, Texas, which performed advanced genetic genealogy analysis. This process revealed that the killer had a biological child, leading police to speak with a person who knew little about their father, but voluntarily provided a DNA sample. This sample confirmed that the suspect was indeed the criminal. His name was Thomas Dunaway. At the time of Carol's murder, Dunaway was 19 and lived in the same school district, just half a mile from a park where Carol frequently rode her bike. In May of 1976, months before the crime, Dunaway purchased a 2-tone 1973 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. He bore a striking resemblance to the composite sketch of the attacker. 9 days after the murder, he enlisted in the Army and was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, later disposing of his car. On December 17th of that year, approximately 6 months afterward, a 19-year-old man named Ronald Townsend was found bleeding on the side of the road, 6 miles from where Carol's body was discovered. Townsend had been shot multiple times and was hospitalized but died 4 days later. At the time, Dunaway was absent without leave from the military. He was subsequently arrested for Townsend's murder and confessed in 1977. He pleaded guilty and received a life sentence but was released after serving about 7.5 years. Reasons for which remain unknown. Sadly, Dunaway died in 1990 at the age of 33, preventing any further legal action for Carol's case. In March of 2023, the details surrounding the death remained undisclosed to the public. Only later, through police reports, was Carol's family informed that the case had been solved. Thomas Kleber was just 18 when his sister was murdered. He was the one who identified her body. Although finally having answers brought a sense of relief, his lingering anger persisted even after more than 43 years. In an interview with the New York Times, he expressed regret over not knowing the truth back in 1990 and revealed his darker feelings towards the perpetrator, hinting at unchristian thoughts. Authorities now plan to exhume Thomas Dunaway's remains to obtain a DNA sample that will be entered into the FBI's CODIS database, which only accepts DNA directly sourced from suspects or evidence. The goal is to determine whether Dunaway might be linked to other unsolved crimes. One such case involves Patricia Harahan, murdered on September 28, 1979. On that day, 3 men relaxing in a picnic area at Sugar Pine Point State Park on Lake Tahoe found a woman who had been viciously beaten and raped. Rather than contacting emergency services, they called a newspaper reporter, who in turn alerted the police. When officers arrived, the woman was already dead. Investigators believe she was alive when the men discovered her. and evidence pointed to a chase through the picnic ground before she was attacked along the lakeshore. The police found her flip-flop at the scene, suggesting the killer had pursued her through the area, ultimately raping and strangling her. Despite their efforts, they never identified her, as she had no belongings on her at the time of death. She was buried under an anonymous marker, labeled as an unknown female, with an estimated age between 35 and 45. She stood approximately 5 feet 2 to 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighed around 115 to 130 pounds, and had shoulder-length, wavy dark brown hair with gray streaks. Her brown eyes complemented her jewelry, namely a gold wedding band engraved "To Mac" from PNB and a pendant resembling a deer. Over the decades, no one came forward to claim her identity. It wasn't until 2014 that a cold case investigator revisited the case. Upon examining her remains, he noticed she had been buried with her jewelry, and when photographs of her jewelry were circulated in Jewish newspapers, a 61-year-old woman recognized a piece. She believed it belonged to her mother, who had gone missing in 1979 during a solo trip to California. Her family had reported her missing in Virginia that October, as she had been heading home when she unexpectedly vanished. In 2015, the daughter provided cold case investigators with a DNA sample, leading to the confirmation that the victim was Patricia Cara Hand, a 35-year-old woman. She had driven her van into California, where it was later discovered abandoned on a car lot in Venice. At that time, authorities had no reason to believe the van belonged to the unidentified woman, especially since Venice lies nearly 440 miles from South Lake Tahoe. After more than 3 decades, a significant breakthrough finally emerged. The identity of the victim was established. DNA collected during the autopsy was used to generate a profile, and a beer bottle found near the body also contained DNA. Comparing the two, investigators confirmed a match. Initial comparisons involved 3 men who had found Patricia, none of whom matched the DNA, so the authorities submitted the profile to CODIS, but no results surfaced. In 2020, the DNA profile was uploaded to the ancestry database 23andMe, yet this yielded no clues. It wasn't until February of 2023 that an important breakthrough occurred. Authorities learned that the DNA had matched a profile in CODIS, which had been entered 6 years earlier. The case's timeline converged with a criminal justice initiative started by Washington State in 2014, aimed at clearing its backlog of sexual assault kits. This initiative was driven by a case from 1994, when a homeless woman in Spokane accused Harold Carpenter of raping her. After Carpenter's arrest, police took a DNA sample, but he was released the next day. The woman later disappeared and was eventually found to have died, so charges against Carpenter were never pursued. His DNA was stored for nearly 2 decades until, thanks to the initiative, it was uploaded into CODIS in 2023, linking him to Patricia's murder. At the time of the killing, Carpenter was only 19 years old. Police had initially placed him in California, as he had no known ties to the area at the time. The day after the crime, he was detained on suspicion of DUI in Susanville, California. Throughout the early 90s, his criminal record grew with multiple arrests in Idaho for various misdemeanors. In 1998, Carpenter moved with his wife to Sandpoint, Washington, where he was convicted of domestic battery and subsequently divorced. Over the next decade, he accumulated charges for reckless driving, DUI, disturbing the peace, and drug possession. By 2018, his criminal profile was serious enough that police submitted his DNA sample for further comparison. During 2016 to 2020, Carpenter was homeless, but moved into a low-income senior housing building in 2020. In 2022, authorities again identified him as a suspect, this time for unwanted sexual touching, though he was not arrested at that time. Finally, on March 1st of 2023, 63-year-old Harold Carpenter was taken into custody and charged with Patricia Carahan's murder, marking a resolution after more than 36 years. 93 years after the crime was committed, he now awaits extradition to California. Harold Carpenter maintains his innocence, believing he has been wrongly convicted and that justice has yet to be fully served. As of now, he remains in custody, hoping for a fair resolution. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. Be sure to explore our new channel, Paranormally Listed. A link is displayed on the screen and also available in the description below. That's all for now. We appreciate your attention and support.